back to the NFL. The Rams averaged nearly 33 points a game in the regular season, but the Patriots held them to a season-low 3 points in the Super Bowl. The defense sacked Jared Goff 4 times and forced an interception late in the game. But despite that, no Patriots defensive players received a vote for Super Bowl MVP. Julian Edelman won the award, but he was not a unanimous pick by the voters. Shannon, are you surprised that no defensive player got a vote?
I'm shocked, and this is appalling. Skip, this was a historic defensive performance. They held the team that scored the second most points and averaged the second most yards to 30 points below their average. And I believe in a situation like this, Skip, when you're dealing with a historic performance, especially from the defensive side of the game like this, someone from that side of the ball needs to be the MVP. Skip, and I just went back 20 years, and I just started with 2000. Super Bowl 35, the Ravens, they gave up 0 points on defense. They ran the kickoff back, but the Ravens defense gave up 0 points. Ray Lewis is the MVP. Super Bowl 37, Dexter Jackson. The Raiders had the MVP, led the league in scoring, and the #1 offense.
Okay.
Super Bowl 48. Peyton Manning was the league's MVP. 55 touchdowns, 5,400 yards, 8 points. Malcolm Smith, MVP. Von Miller. Cam Newton was the MVP. Led the league in scoring. Held him to 10 points. Von Miller had a historic Super Bowl.
That might have been the all-time.
Yes.
Yep.
So, but Stephon Gilmore, Skip, 5 tackles, an interception, a forced fumble, 3 pass breakups. Skip, given that and I can see if they say the score was 33-3.
Sure.
Or the offense, but Skip, the Patriots offense was 14 points less than what they averaged in the regular season. And you said all year, they bend, but they don't break. They bend and don't break. 3 points in this game against that offense? Skip, it's got to go to a defensive player. Stephon Gilmore would have been first for me. The #2 guy would have been Dante Hightower.
Yeah.
Because you remember, Skip, in Super Bowl 51, it was his play that turned the game. The sack, forced fumble on Matt Ryan. He missed last year with the knee injury. He came back and picked right up where he left off. 2 sacks and a pass breakup. He'd have been #2. But for no defensive player, Skip, to get any votes, Skip, you know that's unacceptable. You know that.
I don't. I agree with your premise that the defense deserves some consideration, but it was the defense as a whole for once.
True.
There was no breakout performance that I could see. Even Stephon Gilmore, to me, he took Brandon Cook's man most of the game.
Yes.
I don't know. Could we do 3/4 of the game?
Yeah,
because the one that Brandon Cooks got open on the back line of the end zone, that the pass on, I'm pretty sure it was zone unless he completely blew it, but he wouldn't blow it that bad, right?
No.
So what did Brandon Cooks do for the game? He caught 8 balls for 120 yards. You can say some were late, but the game was still close.
Yeah, but Skip, but the game was a 10-point game with less than a minute. So he caught 3 balls on that final drive.
Okay, but on the play before the fateful interception play, Brandon Cooks beat him to the goal line. And the ball was on the money, and I still think Brandon Cooks should have held on anyway. But Stephon Gilmore reached and interfered with him, and you agreed with that.
Yeah, that was he armbarred him.
He armbarred him, and yet the ball still hit Brandon Cooks right in the chest, and you just got to hang on to that football. And if you do, then with 4:29 left in the game, it's going to be 10-10, and you're not talking about any Stephon Gilmore for MVP.
Instead of it going down as a catch, it went as a pass defense.
Okay.
So it's a pass breakup.
Okay, so we really just had 2 because he was beaten on the play. He was beaten.
That's the way it goes.
All right. But again, then the next play, he pulls off the interception. Or should I say, Jared Goff threw him the interception because Jared Goff had Deron Harmon right in his face, and he just threw it up for grabs to the point I believe I could have made that interception. I believe a lot of people could have because it just hung up in the air for nobody. Brandon Cooks didn't even look back for the ball, and Stephon Gilmore says, I got this. And it was a pretty simple interception.
You're right.
If he had pulled off the pivotal pick 6 that won the game, you got me.
Right.
But again, the 5 tackles, I'll bet 4 of them were on Brandon Cooks after he caught the ball.
But here's the thing. But here's the thing, though, Skip. Although Vaughn had 2.5 sacks, he had 2 forced fumbles.
Yep.
DeMarcus Ware had a couple of sacks. Malik Jackson had sacks also. So it wasn't like the defense. Boss Ward, he had a pick, a fumble recovery. So it wasn't like the defense played shabby, but I just think in a game of this magnitude, Skip, because you said it yourself, you said Edelman dropped the pass.
He did.
He had 7 catches for what, 90 yards in the first half?
93 in the first half. He caught 3 balls in the second half. Okay, so what happens in the MVP voting that offends me? Because I really care about who wins MVP of the Super Bowl. It's prestigious to me. It matters. It lasts. I care to a fault about it. Some people say, what does it matter? No, it matters.
Right.
Do you realize 20% of the final voting comes from the fans?
Yeah.
And Jim Nantz announced going into the fourth quarter, polls are open. Who's your MVP?
Forgot about that.
The game is not remotely decided yet because was it still 3-3 at that point?
And the thing is, Skip, and the rules stipulate as a voter, not the fans, you can vote, but if something transpires late in the ball game, you can change your vote. Well,
as the media vote, there's 16
right.
16.
So you can start voting in the fourth quarter,
but they're going to come ask you in the middle of the fourth quarter sometime. Where are you leaning?
Right.
Edelman.
Right.
And then you start typing your deadline game story, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know, I'll stick with Edelman. Right.
And wouldn't you think, with 4 minutes left in the ball game, a guy gets an interception that snuffs out a potential game-tying drive? Shouldn't that get some consideration, Skip? I mean, to not get, first of all, Skip, to not get any consideration, did an offensive player for the Patriots have a game? I'm talking about a game for the ages. Was it a last year's game, Skip? Where you can make a case if Brady has that game last year, or Amendola, because they had 3 receivers, Hogan, Gronk, all these guys go over 100 yards. Was the game that outstanding from an offensive performance that no defensive player deserved to vote? Okay, you don't want to give it to him, but he can't get a vote?
Look, it's the first time I could go with you on the whole defense was the MVP of the game. Yep. And if you want to throw Belichick's playing in there, I'll give you that. I didn't see anything inventive, creative, new from Bill Belichick, but everybody played very well all night long. All the cogs worked. Nobody screwed it up. Nobody blew an assignment except on the zone, right? And yet it was a dicey game all the way to the very end, but you can make that case. So I'm going to make my case one more time. And nobody wants to hear this. Even Tom Brady doesn't want to hear this, but he pulled off the drive that won the game. That's why I said on Monday, he's up against Wade Phillips at his greatest. That was a great plan by Wade Phillips. He was shutting down Tom Brady in the way the Chargers and the Chiefs didn't remotely shut him down. And Tom Brady was going up against Sue and Donald and Talib and Marcus Peters. There's firepower across the ball. And he finally cracked the code by throwing to Julian Edelman one time, Gronk twice, and Rex Burkhead once. Do you know the degree of difficulty? Those 3 guys, they're not enough.
Skip, you can't give the Super Bowl MVP to a guy that has a fumble, an interception, and is not as accurate.
He didn't lose the fumble.
No, I'm just saying, but I'm just saying, Skip, you can't give a guy that doesn't have a touchdown passing the quarterback.
Okay, but the 29-yarder to Gronk is signature.
Yes.
And it's almost a touchdown. It set up a short touchdown run. So that was good enough to me in a very close, low-scoring game that if Tom Brady had been Tom Smith, I think the media would have voted for him. I think there's backlash.
Not with any touchdowns, because that interception, the first interception, was horrible. As good as the throw was, the interception was equally as bad.
That's his first pass of the game.
Was it?
Yeah. First pass.
Wow.
Okay.
And the thing is, Skip, is that when you look at, like I said, when you get in a league, especially now, Skip, the way the league is set up for offenses to go up and down the field, and I'm surprised we didn't have more pass interference. I mean, they let them play. For the most part, they did let them play. When you get a performance like this to hold that offense, and that was what was so special about, the first time they beat the Rams in 2001, Skip, is that the defense, the job that they did on Kurt Warner, MVP, the greatest show on turf, and you hold them to 20 points below their average. This time you hold a team to 30 points, and nobody even got consideration because a lot of people was thinking, well, Ty Law could have easily been the MVP.
He could have.
Or even Brable. And I'm sure they got a vote or two. But Tom, with the drive, and he threw 1 touchdown. But
Although, see, that was another one. He got it on the drive.
Right.
Because the rest of it was not much, right?
141
Okay.
passes,
Total yards.
yes.
We just
Right?
want to make sure that that Patriots defense gets the credit
They deserve credit, but it
for
was
that
like a
performance.
unit credit.
Yeah, and a
You know what
collective
I
unit,
think it
which
is,
is the
Skip?
point.
Is that for the entire, because when you look at the Ravens defense throughout the entirety of the year was unbelievable. The Bucks defense, we knew what Seattle represented, the Legion of Boom. I think this caught everybody by surprise because
By shock.
they never saw this
Yeah.
type of performance the entire season.
Okay, the reason I told you I enjoyed the game, I was edge of seat. I didn't enjoy it. I was just riveted by it.
Right.
Is because I kept waiting for a shootout to break out
Right.
because they were both shootout teams. They're high scoring, and I kept waiting for the dam to break either way,
Yeah.
and it never broke.
I kind of thought it was going to be a Carolina Patriots game.
Yeah.
You remember,
Yeah.
nothing in the first quarter, and then all of a sudden, nobody can stop anybody.
I've been avoiding saying this all week, but truly, defense wins championships, guys. I know we hear it all the time.
I've
and
never
it's so
heard that before.
cliche,
How did you
but
come
it
up
makes
with that?
so much sense.
Skip
And
doesn't
I
like
just-
defense. He like offense. He like all the
It's like
gaudy
my
numbers.
dad ingrained that into my head forever, so I feel like that was for him. Okay, busy day coming up for the Lakers. Are they going to make some major moves? We'll see. Tomorrow's deadline is coming up. Chris Broussard answers all your questions next.